message and we will have a chat. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let me catch up with live chat and hopefully answer your questions here about the Juicy 41T. I'm curious. There have been, almost like words of encouragement from other people who have been listening to the 41T and have been kind of, maybe similarly smitten with this IEM. The only other review that I've watched was a review posted by Aftersound. He's on Squiglink and also on YouTube. Check him out. And I was watching his review, and this was like back before I was even thinking of doing a review. And I was thinking, yep, I think I agree with pretty much everything he's saying. It was a really good IEM. The technical performance is what it is. And nonetheless, it is the IEM that I keep reaching for, and I expect I still will be. So yeah, let me catch up with live chat. Shimon, how you doing, man? Good seeing you there. Been a while. It's been a while since you were there immediately. I'll just say that. BTFR, how you doing? Good evening. Not quite evening here. It's only 3:30 p.m. Listener, how you doing? Good to see you. Also good seeing you on the headphone show yesterday. Putting a face to the name. Gresh, what's up? How you doing, sir? David K. Not gonna say that, but yeah, that is maybe my biggest complaint with this IEM is why is it called the JUZ ear? There we go. There's the name in all its glory. Apparently this brand, from what I can tell, used to be called Juzear, Jun ear. And that seems to me like a perfectly fine name. I don't know why they put a Z in there instead of an N, because now it makes it really weird and awkward for me to say. I did actually, I was playing around with ChatGPT, and I asked ChatGPT, how would you pronounce this name without feeling awkward? And it actually gave me kind of a decent recommendation. I don't know exactly what was going through ChatGPT's minds, but it recommended to put the emphasis on the ear part, but maybe turn it into like a Zeer. So ChatGPT suggested calling it the Juzear. Juzear. Like that almost sounds like a real world word. My wife told me it sounded a little bit like I'm saying brazier, but I don't know. That sounds better than the other things that I could be sounding like. JTIS, how you doing, sir? Juice set me on fire, baby. Wow. Okay, you're pretty excited about this one. And I think with good reason. Subby Base, U12T, U6T, 41T. Can you see a pattern? Great IEMs. End with a T. Interesting. I can't think of many other ones. But yeah, the U12T and the U6T are pretty good. I would say the U12T is great. The U6T is maybe great. I haven't spent enough time with it to be super confident in that one, though. I did like it. Hiran Patel, listen, for safety purposes, don't say the name. I appreciate that warning. Spare Adam saying so 5-star. And again, I was kind of on the fence because these are the struggles of, a reviewer dealing with a review scale. Like, what does this review scale mean? To a large extent, try not to pay too much attention. Don't hang too much on the score. Because here's I don't know, I'm inconsistent, right? In a way, right? This is the Kato, $190. This is a 5-star IEM for me. It nails the physical stuff. It sounds great. It's incisive. It's got that bass physicality, which is unique to it. Not necessarily my preferred sound signature, but it's very, very close. I really don't have many strong complaints about the Kato. I gave this thing 5 stars out of 5. Here we've got the Juzear, and It's even cheaper, 160 bucks. And if you ask me which of these would I buy for myself, it would be the Juicy, the 41T. Like, kind of no question. This is what I would pick for myself. But I feel like more confident giving this one 5 stars versus this one, just because this one has kind of like a more glaring, I guess, flaw or deficiency in it, despite the fact that I'm listening to it. So I don't know. Scores are what they are. Don't pay too much attention to it. But if you want to know exactly how I feel, that's kind of how I feel. I like the Juicy 41T. Eggman, I wonder if KZ will be the next disruptor of multi-BA IEMs, or will this thing do it? I mean, I'm not sure. I think you'll be waiting for a while if you're waiting for KZ to disrupt other higher quality multi-BA IEMs. Yeah. Zero Play, what's up? Good to see you. Koresh, did you greet me twice, Koresh? You kind of did. Well, I guess the first time you just said yay. Good to see you otherwise. R00s, what's up? Scott Pledger, hey, good to see you there. Fellow kids indeed. You just don't pay attention to this gray in my beard. We'll pretend I'm not 40 years old. Lab Coat Tech, what's up? Liam Madridista, predicting 4 stars early. Smart. Z-Rad saying at 6 a.m. here. Just woke up. That is pretty early. Well, good morning and congratulations on waking up at 6 a.m. I think I woke up at around 6 a.m. this morning too. Don Cohen, how you doing? No, you're claiming it's gonna, or you're predicting it'll be a 4-star because of the name. Yeah, maybe I should just take off a star just for the name. It's pretty bad. Scott Pledger, you said you've decided that it's Juz, like the shortening of just. Yeah, it's Juz. It's Juz at 9 a.m. Yeah, I mean, even there, it sounds weird. I can't do that. I can't. I'm gonna stick with Juicy. BJP, the Juicy ear. Indeed, indeed. Liam saying, I often find the ones that sound boring at first listen are usually the best ones. I mean, I can see that. I mean, my preference is what it is. I know what my preference is. And, if I hear something like the Blessing 2 initially, or the Hexa did not take long for me to realize that was a just stellar IEM. In fact, I put it in the title of the video. That was like my fastest, easiest 5-star IEM ever. And, it's kind of a similar sound in a way that a lot of people would probably say it sounds a little bit boring, but it does the nuanced stuff that I like really, really well. And the Juicy also does the nuanced stuff really, really well, but it lacks some of that transient snap that I usually look for. And so because it wasn't there, and honestly because I've had similar experiences with other IEMs where the technical performance is not great. Maybe I don't even care about, I'm not particular about the tuning choices that they've gone for. And it kind of confirms my preconceived biases of here's an IEM I've never heard of. I'll plug it in my ears, but yeah, it's kind of meh. And that was kind of what the 41T did initially for me. But yeah, more listening just really started to connect with me. And you might even ask, why did I even bother listening to it that much more in the first place? And I don't know, part of it was because I spent $160 on it. I was like, okay, I gotta spend more than literally 5 minutes listening to it, which was my first initial listening impressions. It was based on 5 minutes listening. Okay, I'll try this again. I'll try, some things that I do. Actually, okay, I didn't mention this. The tips that I'm rocking here are SpinFit CP 360s. So I think when I first put this thing in my ears, I was just using the stock ear tips to be easy. And with the stock ear tips, it didn't fit me as well as it does with these ear tips. These are a little bit on the shorter side. So, things like this, things like, customizing the tips, finding the fit that works exactly the best for me. Sometimes swapping out a cable and finding a cable that just matches better with it, not on a sonic scale or anything like that, but just what feels better on the IEM, either visually matches it and then also behaves well with the IEMs. A lot of times, like switching those sorts of things can start to make me feel a little bit different about an IEM. Or maybe another way to say it is that if an IEM doesn't fit me that great and the cable is just kind of like ass in terms of behavior, it will kind of bias my opinions about the IEM, you know, as a whole, and it'll make it a little bit harder for me to enjoy it for what it is. So I, you know, decided I was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and the cable's great. I think what I did was I swapped out the ear tips to the spin fits, and then I also did a little bit of cable modification just by, you know, taking a hair dryer to it and rounding the ear hooks a little bit. I think when it came out of the box, it was like, these were super straight, which I don't like. I like it when the ear hooks are nice and rounded all the way around. So, you know, gave it a little bit of care. And then I was like, all right, let's give this another shot. And that was when it really just started to hook me. Honestly, fairly quickly after that. Ace of Spades, how you doing? Happy day of fatherhood, fellas. Yes, indeed. If there are any fathers out there, happy Father's Day. Wizard agreeing with me. This is a nice cable. I agree. This is a very, very nice cable. You can see it's definitely on the thicker side, right? If we compare this cable to the Moondrop Blessing 3 cable, I like the thinness of the Blessing 3 cable. Like, that's kind of usually my ideal. The thinner, the better. But why I actually like this cable better overall comes down to the behavior. I mean, you can kind of already see it here. The Blessing 3 cable, it's got a bit of a memory to it, right? Whereas the Juicy cable, it is flat, pliable, soft, and it just, this cable behaves like perfectly. So that for me overrides any concerns I had with the thickness of the cable. And yeah, it was reason enough for me to buy a couple extras. Nacho saying no anime girl, impossible. I know there is no anime girl on the box, so you're just gonna have to deal with this kind of like vague topography sort of illustration or something like that, which I'll be honest, I prefer. Alex Pradanovic, how you doing, sir? Good to see you there. Subby Base saying this cable is so silver, damn. I mean, yeah, it's pretty silver. I like, you know, I like it when the cable has kind of like this, you can almost, it almost looks like it's like a cloth or like an organic material or something underneath of the silicone sheathing. I really do dig that. Maybe is this, I've seen some manufacturers refer to that as like a foil material, so maybe that's what's going on here. The Kato actually has got kind of a similar thing going on too. I like this cable, although this one is also similarly a little bit memory prone. Not as bad as the Blessing cable. You can kind of see it pulls out pretty well, but it is a little bit on the stiffer side versus the Juicy cable. So even though it is a little bit thinner and maybe even a little bit more handsome than the Juicy cable, I think overall I prefer the Juicy cable. I think. I don't know. The Kato cable was pretty good for me too. ROOS, nice case. I ordered 4 of the cables. Wow, that's a lot of cables. But honestly, it's priced pretty well. It's like $25 for this cable on AliExpress at least, and they actually shipped it out really fast too. So yeah, I can see why. Shimon saying, I'm about to go meditate. By the time I come back, I expect at least 3 arguments telling me why SSR is better. Probably not. Red Gopnik saying, Dan, they're quite pretty for a clear IEM. Does that mean that you typically don't prefer a clear IEM in terms of aesthetic? I personally, I like a clear IEM. I think my favorite IEM design is a clear IEM. The Moondrop S8 would probably be like my number one in terms of aesthetic, but you know, some of them, yeah, I guess can be a little bit ugly. Usually what I don't like about a clear IEM is what's the one that's coming to mind? I believe it is, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the name of this IEM? The Tongzu Waner is an example where it just looks like a cheap plastic, right? It's not this filled in resin shell. When it's got this filled in resin shell and it bends the light kind of like glass, like that's just a look I'm always about. I'm always about that. I guess there are sometimes, there's a little bit of messiness that you can see with some IEMs, and I would say that the Juicy is not immune to some, messiness. You can see here, it looks like they've used like kind of like a red glue or something like that, and it's kind of bleeding out the side of the driver there in a way that it's not on this side. So, it's not the tidiest, and having a clear shell does show you all of those little flaws, but whereas, take a look at something like the Blessing 3, right? A lot of that messiness, they've hidden behind this metal panel. So you don't have to see the wiring, and then the rest of it is just nice and clean look. So this is definitely the more polished aesthetic here on the Blessing 3. But nonetheless, again, half the cost, I'm pretty happy. I'd say more than happy with the build on the 41T. Scott Pleasure has 41 drivers. I mean, if this was a KZ, yeah, that would mean it has 41 drivers. Zero Play agreeing also. I really dig that cable. I do as well. Maybe I should link to that cable in the description as well. I'll add that after the review, but it's not there now. I apologize. Scott Pleasure saying that cable looks too thick for my taste, even if it's very pretty. And I agree. You know what? Again, like this is the thickest cable of these three, but it's actually the better behaving cable of the three. And for that reason alone, I actually prefer it. The thickness, why I generally don't prefer a thick cable is because of what it usually implies for the behavior. It feels a little bit heavy, maybe a little bit stiff around the ears, and doesn't quite drape the way that a thinner, lighter cable, like something like a Moondrop SSR cable might. But this thing just does a dang good job. Let's see if I can even demonstrate that, right? Like you see how just like floppy? This is pure cable entertainment. Versus, let's see, is it obvious at all how different these cables are in terms of behavior? You can see it's kind of kinking up on itself a little bit, just got a little bit of memory to it. Doesn't quite lie flat, it's got a little bit of bounce to it. This is just the little things, the subtle things. We gotta find a cable rating scale. Eggman saying that name confuses me. Yeah, well, I don't know that it confuses me in the sense of like, why would you pick that name? And I guess also like, what does that mean? But it is an IEM, so it do be what it be. Ooh, Jatis, I see what you're going for. You're doing math. It's got 4 + 1, and then subby base is saying equals 5 stars. Smart. Oh, Shimon asking, I think, an important question also. Is it vented? And the answer is yes, it is vented. I don't know if you can kind of tell right here. There is a vent for the dynamic driver. As there almost, I don't know if I've ever tried an IEM with a dynamic driver that has no venting. And this one does have a vent. That said, I would say that the way that this fits, again, I'm not super sensitive to IEMs that don't have vents. Like, I'm pretty comfortable with them, but the 41T actually, it kind of initially feels like an unvented IEM in a way. I'm guessing maybe just the whatever pressure relief that there is from this venting is just a little bit slow acting, like it is in some other IEMs that I've tried that are vented. So it might give you a little of some of that initial pressure from an unvented IEM, but because there is a vent in there, I think it will stabilize, within a couple of seconds. Oh, Wear One Nation saying great build and fit for $160, 100%. Yeah, I mean, you know what's interesting is that there used to be more IEMs like this in the sub $200 range. There was like the Maga OCK5. There was the Shozi and Neo CP, which had, similar all resin clear shells, excellent fitting IEMs, under $200. But they haven't made those IEMs in a while. They were all balanced armatures. They weren't even hybrids. So, in a sense, this is kind of breaking new ground. But it's also, in a sense, it kind of is a bit of a throwback for me. reminding me of some of those favorite IEMs from like 4 or 5 years ago. Nova Kane saying, maybe comfort is the key to amazing sound. And Scott Pleasure saying, it's definitely a necessity for me. I can't focus on how something sounds if it's uncomfortable. I pretty much agree with that, yeah. I mean, I can struggle through it, right? I can make kind of I was gonna say objective, but it's a tricky word. But let's say an objective assessment of the sound of thing, despite the physical stuff. But for me to really like love something, it's gotta fit good. It's gotta fit good. Fawadzia asking, is this better than IE 200? In my opinion, yeah, I like the Juicy 41T a lot better than the IE 200. Now, will you like it better than the IE 200? I don't know. They are fairly different in terms of sound signature. Like the IE 200, I've described as kind of like a V-shaped sound signature a little bit. It's got elevated sub bass, elevated treble in a way that this is relaxed treble. Okay, if you like kind of that in-your-face treble presentation of the IE 200, you might find this pretty underwhelming, to be honest, because the treble is so relaxed on the set. In fact, let me grab my computer real quick, and let's look at some frequency response graphs. All right, so let's go to Sennheiser IE 200. This is what I'm talking about, all right? On the IE 200, you've got this elevated treble over here. What is this garbage target we've got? Let's put on a good target. So the IE 200, and then let's pull up the Juicy for comparison, and you can see just a massive difference in the treble presentation here on the Juicy. There's also a pretty big difference down here in terms of the bass. The Juicy just comes across, again, kind of like this low contrast, kind of warm and thick neutral sound signature, whereas the Sennheiser IE 200 kind of a classic V-shaped sound signature. Well, I shouldn't say classic. It's pretty unique to Sennheiser, but it is a V-shaped sound signature. You got elevated bass, you've got elevated treble, you get that contrasty sound, which can be pretty engaging. So yeah, you might prefer the IE 200. Me personally, though, I'll take the 41T all day. All day. Where One Nation saying it sounds like a cheaper T2. It's an interesting comparison. I didn't do like the listening, but let's go back to the table. Not the Zens. I typed it in wrong, but then I got it nonetheless. Anyway, here's the Zens. Interesting. Oh, I see what this thing's doing. There are some similarities there. It looks like the Zens is a little thicker here in the mid bass, although I'd say that the bass quality on the T2 is definitely behind the bass quality on the 41T. I think the 41T has like a really, again, a nice satisfying, kind of just like syrupy quality to its bass presentation, whereas the bass on the T2, I remember kind of sounding a little bit almost balanced armature-y in terms of like its attack and physicality. But yeah, if you look up top, there's really not that much between them. I would say that to the ear, I think the treble sounds a little bit more present on the T2. I think the transients are a little bit sharper, better defined on the T2 than they are on the 41T. I don't remember thinking that the T2 was, anywhere near relaxed or sorry, not relaxed, but like anywhere near dark in the treble, whereas the 41T I would describe as approaching darkness. So they are subtly different, but yeah, I think if you're looking for something like the T2 at half the cost, 41T, not a bad option. Z-Rad with an important question asking, is it bad to charge my phone from a laptop's power brick? I hope not, because I do that kind of stuff all the time. No, I don't think so. Red Gopnik saying, man can't describe sound without picking food terms. Is bro hungry? Yeah, maybe. It is kind of interesting. I feel like audio is particularly prone to analogies. Yeah, I have to resort to analogies, and I feel like that's kind of true for most people. You have to resort to analogies to describe audio in a way, and a lot of like the analogies will be like visual analogies, right? This thing is bright. You might describe something as sharp, right? That's like kind of like a physical analogy to a sound. You might describe something as warm. It's like, again, another physical analogy to describe an audio thing. Yeah, sound doesn't have enough of its own words. It has to borrow a lot, including from the food world, like syrupy. Z-Rad saying my favorite word is pancakey to describe bass. Pancakey doesn't sound like great bass. So you tell me, is that what you intend to convey with pancakey? Pancakey to me sounds like the bass might be a little bit fluffy, maybe a little bit soft in its attack, but maybe, have a decent amount of bounce behind it. So it's not the worst of basses. Maybe I would describe the Manger T2's bass as a little pancakey. On ROOS and Adrian confirming that the 41T is on sale. Actually, you're saying it's on sale for a little over 125 bucks after discounts. I think I saw it for like 137, so maybe there's like more discounts that stack on top of that. 125 bucks. Should maybe consider it. That's pretty damn good IEM for 125 bucks. RWS is 350 bucks, a good price for a lightly used IE600. I think it's a fantastic price, yeah. I mean, I'm not in the market for them, so I haven't been shopping around. That's what you should probably be doing. It's just like see where's the cheapest place to get it, and you decide is 350 bucks a good price, but that sounds like a really good price for it. JTIS saying, I think the Kato has been dethroned at the $200 price point by the Juice. And again, for my personal preferences, yeah. But I like at the same time, like I don't have any strong critiques of the Kato, apart from the fact that I like the 41T better. I like the tonality better. So that's a tough one for me. But yeah, for me, yes, I prefer the 41T. Would I recommend it to everyone with the same sort of like lack of reservations? Maybe not. The 41T is a little bit more of, you need to understand my full take on this and understand what's important for you. Whereas the Kato, this is an IEM I would recommend to just about anyone. If you want like a really good bass quality, good physicality, and most people will say, yeah, that sounds like something I want, like get the Kato. It's unbeatable, in my opinion, under 200 bucks for those qualities. If you want a neutral, laid back, warm kind of sound, syrupy, and it just works for so many different scenarios and so many different musics. Well, the Juzear, oh my gosh, I just said it. Ew. The Juicy 41T, that's that. But again, like that's a little bit more specific than do you want really nice bass physicality. So are you willing to give up sort of that separation and incisiveness? Raptikit saying, I love the Hexa, but it doesn't work as an IM for stage use because it distorts too early for the dynamics you need in a live situation. Distorts too early. Are you like, how loud are you listening to it at? I've definitely not heard any distortion in it, but yeah, actually that's kind of an interesting question. I've never really thought about that. In a live stage scenario, how loud are you needing to pump up the IMs? Does sound isolation make a big difference for you? Like if you have an IM that isolates really well, are you able to lower the volume of your IMs and listen at a tamer volume? Because I would expect, I haven't tested this extensively, but I would expect that this will isolate a lot better than something like this, just because of well, kind of the thickness of the shell, how much room it takes up in the concha, if you can see. This thing really just like fills up my ear entirely, whereas this leaves, you know, a fair bit of air all the way around it. I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about that, and that's probably because I'm not a stage performer. Not a Finch. I assume that you're agreeing with me about the syrupy word, hence you are repeating it. And Lord Lopez, no, I'm not planning to review the flame version, which I've heard mixed thoughts. Actually, I've only heard from people who've bought the flame version that it sounds the same as the original 41T. The only place where I've heard that it might sound different is from the seller of it. So I am inclined to believe that they sound the same, and personally I prefer the look of the non-flame edition, and as well it's cheaper, so I don't really have any reason to go for the flame version myself. See the reactions to the scores. Yeah, what do you all think? What should I have scored this based on what I described? Based on this being like my favorite IEM under $200, should I just give it a 5 because of that? Or is it understandable that it's kind of got those caveats of like, if you're looking for that incisive treble performance, which I usually am, it's not quite there. So it's a little bit more nuanced. Again, the score it's just a number. How I feel about it, how much I listen to it, that's kind of what matters, right? Link saying, I think the IEM I Midnight would be a pretty good comparison, but you had trouble with the comfort, if I recall correctly. Yeah, you're actually right. The IEM I Midnight, that was interesting. I was mentioning that I can't really think of any dynamic driver IEMs or hybrids that don't have venting, but that one, it must have venting of some sort, I'm guessing, but that was an IEM where I would have like pretty significant pressure buildups. Yeah, you know what, now I think about it, there are some dynamic driver, some other hybrids. There was the Thea Audio Legacy 5, as well as even the Thea Audio Oracle, where, and this was similar, they shared this attribute in common with the IEM I Midnight, where a lot of times I would put them in my ear and it would give me a really strong pressure issue. I completely forgot about that. Thank you for even mentioning that. Interesting, because yeah, for me that was like a different sensation than what I get from like an unvented BA IEM. Again, unvented BA IEMs I have no problem with, but those IEMs in particular, they gave me issues in terms of, you know, just it took a while for me to like mess around with my ear, break the seal, and get kind of like a stabilized pressure with those IEMs, to the point that even with like the Legacy 5 a little bit, and much more so with the IEM I Midnight, half the time I plugged that thing in my ears, like there was just no bass because like the dynamic driver just doesn't work. Yeah, I forgot about that. Scott Pledger, I appreciate you reminding folks to hit the like, subscribe, ding the bell, all the YouTube algorithmic stuff. Yeah, if you wanna help grow Super Review, do all that stuff, and also share the content. If you know someone that will be interested in the video, share it. If you know a forum, subreddit, something like that might be interested in the content, share it. That's actually one of the best ways to help me out. I probably could do it myself, but I feel like I'm like shilling myself, so I'm like I kind of don't do that very much. Maybe I should. I think most people don't have those same reservations, but nonetheless, if you want to help me out, there's your way. Adrian saying the Juicy is more fun than Hexa, though. Yeah, which one's more fun? I mean, like the Hexa, I really do think that it does like those incisive transients better. It's not like, again, it's not a super sharp IEM. The technical performance in the Hexa is like not fantastic. It's just, I think what really stands out about the Hexa is that its ability to deliver this tonal balance with sufficient technical performance and smooth treble in a way that usually budget BA sets, budget hybrids are not good at. This does it fantastic. And I do think that even with those caveats, like this still gives me a better definition on transients and stuff than does the 41T. Now, which one is more fun? Might depend on my mood, might depend on what I'm listening to, but I will say that the bass on the 41T is better. It's a step ahead. Ooh, Ace of Spades, you got your $65 Hexa this week and loving it thus far. Yeah, 65 bucks on the Hexa is like, I mean, 80 bucks is already a killer deal for that IEM, to be honest. It's on sale at the moment for 65 bucks, which is outstanding. Especially given, like, yeah, think of like how far we've come. And then also factor in inflation over the past, 5 years that I've been doing this stuff. A $65 hybrid 5 years ago, there's not a chance I would still be listening to it. I would not be interested in it. Hexa was damn good. Dom Q, how you doing? Cracking up, saying, yeah, name is unfortunate, but they did make a unique looking IEM that people seem to like. Yeah, I'll give them that. Nana Finch, so we can call it the Juzear. Juzear I'm okay with. Werewolf Nation speculating maybe it's a misspell of just ear. Maybe it's just for ears. I don't know. I don't know what they're going for. Juzear I'm okay with. I'll have to train myself to that one though. Audiotron saying love at first listen is real, but not always the whole story. I agree with that. There are some IEMs that my initial impression was like, whoa, that's amazing. And then listen to it for 10 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, this is a little bit much. What I'm thinking of, for example, is like the Effect Audio Cross Elysian Gaia. A really, really good first impression on that IEM, and it is a very fantastic IEM, I will still say, but I don't think I could see myself buying that one personally. Lee Underwood saying, I am on Discovery thread of Head-Fi, and this IEM came up for the other day. I would consider it. Hope you review the Awful Performer 5 and 8. I did do a short review of the Performer 5, and that's as much as you'll get. I only had that IEM for a brief moment, so that was what I was able to get out of there. Scott Pledger saying the Juzear would be a much better name. Yeah, you can even, guys, I see how you spelled it there. That just making it an A, that does sound much better. Juzear. Yeah, the Juzear. Let's do it. Let's petition this company to fix the name of their IEM. Evan Wynn, what's up, Evan? How you doing? Glad I watched your review. The imaging on the Hexa is why I was even looking for an upgrade, because I found it kind of weak. I guess the Juicy isn't for me. Yeah, I would say that. If you're looking for something that is a step up in terms of imaging performance versus the Hexa, I don't know that this is it, to be honest. Yeah, I would say that the imaging is stronger on the Kato or the Blessing 3 especially. Scott saying I've really been enjoying the U6T. It really does feel like a down tilted U12T. Yeah, that was kind of my impression, was that I didn't have them side by side to compare, but I listened to the U6T and I was like, this actually is a pretty good impersonation of the U12T for a lot cheaper. Maybe not quite as dynamic and alive, but I don't know, tonal balance wise, it was pretty close. Lee Underwood asking, if you were not a reviewer, would you be more picky about what you own? I got an impression review. It is insane in the IEM market. If I was not a reviewer, would I be more picky about what I own? Let me just think of ways to answer that question. So like in the sense of me being a reviewer and I've got access to pretty much whatever I want, right? I've got a cabinet over here of, I haven't counted in a while, let's say over 200 IEMs. I get to be super picky. I get to just pick exactly the one thing that I like. So in that sense, I get to be as picky as kind of anyone, right? Because I don't know, why not? Why would I not be as picky as someone? Well, here's why actually. If I didn't have a collection of 200 IEMs, and I recognize most people don't, you're just trying to buy one IEM, right? I just, I'd say I've got $200. I'm trying to figure out how do I spend my $200, and I can't afford to buy something that I don't like. So I need one, and I can't afford to buy like 5 IEMs that kind of like fill in the holes of the other IEMs. So I get that. So yeah, in that sense, maybe I am less picky than I would be if I was only buying one IEM. That said, like if I was only buying one IEM, I know what I would buy. It would be the 7th Acoustic Supernova. If I didn't have that much money, I'd probably buy the Blessing 3, and if I didn't have that much money, I'd buy the 41T. And I would just, accept it for what it is. It doesn't do absolutely everything that I want in an IEM. Again, it lacks that incisiveness and that really strong stereo imaging. But of all the things I've heard, it's what is my favorite, right? So I don't know. Kind of curious for you to elaborate on that question, if that addressed what you were thinking, or if there's something else I'm not thinking of. Scott Pleasure, it's okay. You just assumed that I started going gray in my 20s like you. Yeah, definitely. There might have been a couple of gray hairs down here in my late 20s. But there's definitely a lot more than there used to be. And ROOS, thank you for the clarification. Y'all can pronounce my name as Roos, like Bruce, minus the B. All right, Roos, that is easier. Novocaine, surprised you didn't compare it to the Blessing 2. To me, this sits in between the Hexa and the Blessing 2, since the B3 is a different tone. It's either a perfect, cheaper step up or an unnecessary middle child. Be perfectly honest with you, I was actually kind of considering that, but didn't. Yeah, I think tonal balance-wise, the Blessing 2 is closer to the Juicy 41T than the Blessing 3 is. And yeah, it is more in line with that sort of lineage. So I get that. Owl Store saying, I really love the 41T. I was thinking of getting the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite for the BA thing, but I don't think I need it. Yeah, to be honest, like the Orchestra Lite was an IM that I thought of when I first started coming to grips with the fact that I actually really like this IM, right? Because the technical performance on the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite is also a little bit lackluster. I do think the treble is maybe a little bit more present on the Kiwi Ears versus this, but they're pretty similar in that sense, in that they both favor just like a really good tonal balance with a smooth presentation versus having, a lot of those like details in your face, a lot of really sharp transients. They're both a little bit soft up top in that sense. So if you like the 41T for that character, you'll probably also like the Kiwi Ears. But if you're looking for something different than that aspect of it, you might want to consider something else, honestly. Novocaine, I don't know that I've ever been ground zero for a hype train. I don't get that excited. We'll just say that. Jada's saying, to me, the shell and the cable are part of the package. It's not just a sonic presentation. I mean, maybe if it's a $20 IM, I can accept a bad cable, but not a $50 plus IM. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like even there, like, I might even be happy to buy an IM that has a bad cable, but I'm going to replace the cable. I'm going to make this, if I'm going to love this IM, I'm going to put it on a cable that I love. And there are some, great IMs out there that don't have great cables. So I'm willing to accept it as long as, obviously it is a replaceable cable, and that is the case in 99% of the cases. BLBG asking, can I review the Sony MH1? I see a graph in the database. I only listened to it briefly. It was way too bassy for me. I didn't really like it, to be honest. I mean, it was for like a free budget, or free like pack-in earphone. Maybe it's not even that. The MH755 is like a free pack-in earbud. I can't remember if the M1H is or not. But I actually prefer the MH755 versus the M1H. Or MH1. VX Ace, thank you for joining late and shilling the U16. Novocaine. I can recommend an IEM to friends because no box Wi-Fi. Yeah, does anyone else out there like feel awkward about either recommending a waifu laden IEM to somebody or like maybe even like gifting it to them? Do you think, I don't know, if you, let's think about like a sibling, all right? Would you gift them an IEM that had a waifu in the box, or would you feel weird about that? Would you maybe select an IEM that you didn't like as much because it didn't have the waifu in the box and give them that? Welcome back, Shimon. Z-Rad, my least favorite are blingy IEMs, so gold and silver especially polished. Okay, yeah, I can understand that. I don't mind a little bit of bling sometimes though. Not a Finch, I am not reading that one out loud, but I appreciate you leaving that one there for us. Jadis, I kind of want MRS to review the new 12BA KZ IEM. I'm sorry, it's not. I've fallen for the KZ promise too many times. I mean, it might happen eventually, right? I don't want to say that there's anything like impossible, but I've fallen for their promise too much. Been burned too much by treble that is just bleh. And maybe I'm wrong this time. It'll happen. I'll eventually find out, but it's not happening soon. Z-Rad asking, is IE 200 good? I mean, a lot of people like it a lot. I thought it was okay. I did a review of it if you want to check it out. Omar, hi Mark. When using the Hibi R6 III, have you noticed any difference in sound between balanced and the standard 3.5 output? I perceive that the sound has less imaging coming from the balanced. No, I haven't, but to be perfectly honest, like I almost never use balanced. For me, like there's really no good reason why that would be the case, right? There's no like balanced is not a significant difference, okay? Really what it means is that you're able to listen to two amplifiers kind of running in parallel rather than just one amplifier. And that means that you can get more power output from the balance. Apart from that, unless like they screwed up something in the build, there really shouldn't be differences between the two. But I don't know, maybe that's the case with and it could be a thing that's, you know, the case with that DAP, or it could be your particular unit. Maybe there's some issue there. I don't know. If it feels like a subtle thing that you might have a hard time picking out in like a blind A/B test, it could also just be, you know, could be a little bit in your head. And I've had those things all the time too myself, which is why, like, I don't know, I kind of just like stopped digging into that stuff for myself, because I found I was just confusing myself more so than finding anything useful. V asking, will I be reviewing the Kiwi Ears Quintet? I'm interested in it for sure. I'll reach out about it. I didn't love the quartet. I don't know if that means that they'll be less willing to give me the quintet, but we'll see. Lee Underwood and Scott are bagging on Hyphaman's cable game. You know, the cable that comes with the Edition XS is not bad. It's like, yeah, I would say the cable on the Edition XS is like a solid cable. But I've seen the cable that they include with the Sesvara, and looks like a mess. YouTube jumped me, folks. Let me scroll back in time. Voldemir saying the Soft Ear Studio 4 has a similar signature. Yeah, the Studio 4 is going to come across, I would say, significantly brighter and more forward than the 41T, which is going to come across more relaxed and a little bit on the dark side. Not that like the Studio 4 is especially like a bright IM. It's maybe a little bit on the thin kind of clinical sound, but it's not like especially aggressive in the treble. It's just that the treble is pretty relaxed on the 41T. John Duggan asking, how does it compare to the Quartet? So I just mentioned I didn't really love the Quartet that much. The biggest difference is, okay, well, let's start with the technical stuff. I do think that the Quartet is actually better in terms of incisiveness and just definition on those leading transients. I do think that it does a better job there because it's more of a V-shaped sound signature. Where I think the Quartet is kind of deficient is in its bass quality. I think the bass quality, it's got a lot of bass. So if you are looking for a lot of bass, you might like it better than the 41T, but honestly, I think the bass quality is just so much better on the 41T, whereas the bass on the Quartet is kind of soft and pillowy. And I found that it just made the overall sound of the IM a little bit boring for me. Bruno saying the Mangard T2 makes me feel relaxed and almost like I'm on some sort of mushrooms. All the way you described the 41T reminds me of that, despite you saying that they are very different. I wouldn't say they're very different, but they're noticeably different. And I think, again, the bass quality is better on the 41T. So if you like that aspect of the T2, if you like that laid back aspect of the T2, you might really like the 41T like I do. Daniel Ulrich, I don't know in what context you're asking, $130 for Sennheiser IE300s. I prefer the 200. If you want more bass, the IE300's fine choice. It's a little bit soft. The treble's a little bit zingy on it, but it's not awful. It's perfectly listenable. Just a little unnatural, maybe. Adrian saying, I feel like IMs are for helping you not get ear damage on stage. Getting distortion on Hexa is wild. Yeah, if you're honestly, like if you're listening to an IM loud enough that you're getting distortion out of it, like audible distortion, one, maybe consider that it's not actually the IM. Two, if it is the IM, maybe there's like a defect in your particular unit. And then three, if those are not true, you might be just listening way too loud. And I get, like, if you're on a stage, like you've got other sounds to compete with, but like be careful with your hearing. Even in that scenario, like I would try to find an IM that isolates better so that you don't have to blast it so loud that it's distorting, because that sounds like a bad time, in my opinion. Omar, no, I have not tried Monoprice's headphones. Roos is saying it sounds like a 5. Okay, this is the feedback on my score. Roos, you're saying it sounds like a 5 with a question mark. Jadis, you do you. 5 is bold, but if you like it, go 5. Okay. Roos is saying actually a 4 makes sense. Sorry to flip flop. You're exactly, and that's kind of where I am, to be honest. I'm flip flopping on it, but I'm gonna stick with my 4 for now. Here's where things get really, when you really know how much I like an IM. We get to the end of the year, and I got to do the Earphone Awards. What are the 5 IMs that I picked from? There have been some pretty good ones this year. I'd say this year is already, on average, I would say this year is better than last year. It's stronger than last year. Yeah, I would say that's true. I mean, the Supernova I keep saying is my favorite IM. That's going to be in this year's contention for the Earphone Awards. So that's pretty strong. And last year had some, some nice strong options, but I do think this year might be a little bit stronger on average again. And we're only halfway through. Template, thanks for your reviews. I bought a Moondrop Kato a couple months back and totally loved them since. Right on. Glad it worked out, and that's what I like to hear. Jada's saying, I mean, the Edition XS got a 4 to 5 boost. It can always change. Yeah, that's true. And the Edition XS is kind of an interesting example where that was just a headphone that, honestly, it was when I pulled it out and compared it to some other headphones, specifically when I was listening to Pontobox. I was like, holy crap, This thing is actually really pretty impressive for the price range. And I kind of decided, okay, given my reservations about this and like the tonal balance isn't quite as syrupy and awesome as the HT600, it is doing something that the HT600 is not doing. So there is a trade-off there. And well, I'll boost its score. So it can happen. I see some Reddit conversation. Can I give you, I don't know. I don't think Reddit is doing their PR very well, but I also kind of understand a little bit more like why they have to make changes. I don't know. I don't know their financials. I don't know exactly what's going on. I do know that having a third-party API can be, fairly expensive to upkeep. Assuming these are the things that are true about it, I can understand why they need to change their business model. Now, it does sound like, and I was listening to MKBHD's podcast, the Waveform podcast, they were doing kind of like a breakdown of how things went. It does sound like Reddit made some mistakes. They did not communicate it well. They did not give people very good heads up on terms of how this stuff goes on. And now that they're getting like this pushback, I feel like their reaction to it is just like bad PR. You need to be more understanding of where your user base is coming from. But that said, again, I understand why companies sometimes just have to make unpopular decisions. And it's not fun to be on that side of having to make those sorts of decisions. But when you are a company that has to keep the lights on, you've got a staff of probably thousands of people. I don't know how big Reddit is. They've got a big staff, and they need to pay for it somehow. Again, they got to make choices. But yeah, I think much more of the problems with this is less about the changes that they're having to make, at least from my opinion, and much more about how they're going about doing it. That said, I gotta be honest, I still love Reddit. Someone actually made an interesting comment. I saw it somewhere in the social media verse suggesting that Google should buy Reddit and then don't worry about make the API free and just subsidize it, because Reddit makes Google search results so much better. And I think that's totally true. Like if you're ever like Googling something and you get bad results, just like type site:/reddit.com at the beginning of your query, and there's a good chance your search results will get a lot better. BLBG asking, will Hexa be an upgrade from the Sony MH1? I mean, it depends on what you want. They're just so different. Let's go back to the squigs so I can kind of highlight exactly what we're talking about. Oh my gosh, wrong link. Here's the MH1 as I measured the frequency response. And as you can see down here, that is a lot of bass, okay? This is, and in fact, it's a lot of bass. It's kind of starting like down here at 300 hertz. I found this to be kind of warm, thick, and soupy sounding because of that. And then, yeah, the treble was just kind of okay. Whereas if contrast, we pull up the Hexa, it's, okay, let's give you a color that's not yellow. Maybe a color that looks a little bit different. One of these days, I'm going to figure out how to make these colors automate a little bit better. But let's go from there. The Hexa bass is a lot more neutral, which is my preference personally. If you want this extra bass, you see this gap right here is massive. That's going to make these things sound completely different. So when we're talking about the words like upgrade, like it's a completely different beast. And the other thing, and this, I don't know, I don't want to get like too hung up on this exact difference here in the graph because I don't want to listen to them. I've just never done this comparison head-to-head listening, so I'm gonna have to rely on the graphs to a bit. But this difference here in the treble, this is really good treble. Like the Truth Your Hexa has above average treble extension, upper treble performance, whereas the MH1 has this pretty typical single dynamic driver dip here, which gives it maybe a little bit of a zing up top, but it's not quite as well filled out. Not as good with like the micro contrast and all that kind of jazz. So very, very different IEMs. I personally think the Hexa is a lot better than the MH1, but depending on what you like about the MH1, you might completely disagree. ZRAD asking, would I consider the LAN as a mini Hexa? A little bit, actually. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's go back to go back to the squigs. Let me get rid of the MH1. And let's pull up the LAN. I think the LAN is probably a little bit more contrasty than the Hexa, a little bit more on the almost V-shaped sound signature. Where did it go? There we go. So yeah, the LAN is a little bit brighter up top, and you can see down here, I don't know, again, I don't want to overanalyze these minor differences, but I think that this does actually pretty accurately represent the differences, in that the LAN does come across maybe just a smidge on the thinner side and a little bit brighter up top, but you're not going to get much closer of an analog in the $40 range. So I would say, yeah, if you're looking for something that's in the range of Hexa, the LAN is actually a really good option. Yeah. In some ways, I actually kind of feel like I underrated the LAN a little bit. When I went back and listened to it, I think I talked about this when I reviewed the Truthier Zero Red. I pulled out the LAN for a comparison because it's a dynamic driver in roughly the same price range. I was like, man, this is actually like just really competently executed. Doesn't like stand out in any particular way, but it is really competently executed, which is not the sexiest thing to say about any product, but in $40 price range, like really competently executed is actually pretty rare. So it's quite good. Jadis, you think I'd like the Awful 8? Yeah, I mean, I probably would. I actually might even dislike the name Awful worse than Juzear, to be honest though. Like Juzear, this one's just awkward to say. Awful is just, you see that word plastered on the outside of the IEM. Just, man, why did you do that? And yeah, well, maybe I'll collab with them. The awful shit. And before YouTube, you censor me. Those were brand names. I'm not cursing. Kenny, do you recall when Kryn released the Dusk after the Blessing 2? Yes, I do. And he said he's working on a Blessing 3 Dusk. Yes, I am aware. Yeah, I think honestly, Moondrop should have kept that on the down low for a little bit longer, because I suspect there are a lot of people who might have been interested in buying the Blessing 3 that probably just waiting for the Dusk version. And I mean, that's good for us, right? You're not accidentally buying an IEM and then, 6 months later, regretting that you didn't wait 6 months. But from a professional business marketing perspective, probably not the best idea to let that out. Septian asking, have I reviewed the Moondrop JIU? Did you? Yeah, I did a short review for it actually. I think I just published it a couple days ago. So yeah, I did like a quick 60-second review of the Moondrop Geo. Oh my gosh. Saw Jadis, you were talking about the waifus being a little awkward with your kids. Where did it go? YouTube jumped me. Seemed like an interesting comment. I'd love to expand upon it. Okay, I've scrolled back too far. Okay. It's odd for my kids with the waifus, but I'm okay as long as they aren't suggestive or sexual. Yeah. I mean, like, the anime, just characters in general can look a little bit childlike, a little bit childish, I suppose, in a way that I'm not particularly worried about myself. Like, I'm 40 years old, I play video games, whatever. It is what it is. I'm not trying to portray myself as above anime or anything like that. But yeah, the stuff that like is suggestive is pretty awkward, I'll be honest. And maybe that is just me. Like, I don't want people to think of me as like a pervy anime guy. Red Gopnik saying, depends on the sibling. My younger sister is the biggest weeb in the family. All right, there you go. See? And then, like, you know, a little weebishness is fine, I suppose. It does make it look a little bit unserious, especially for, like, you know, a $300 IEM. It's got, like, a little bit of weebishness about it. It's like, what's going on here? Is this for kids or is this for adults? Well, it's for adults who, well, I guess it's for anyone, but it's for adults who like anime, and they exist in the same way that I'm a 40-year-old dude that loves video games. Christ asking which ear tips do I use? For me, it depends on which earphone I'm listening to. These, actually 3 of these 4 IEMs are all using Moondrop spring tips. These ones are using SpinFit CP360s. What the 360s and the spring tips honestly have in common is that they are on the short side, and generally I prefer that. I prefer short ear tips that fit closer to the body of the IEM versus like sticking out a little bit. And here with my finger, I'm exaggerating. Like there's almost no ear tips that stick out this far. But even just having an ear tip that sticks out like an extra 1.5, 2 millimeters makes a big difference in terms of fit. And for some IEMs, it's actually a benefit. For other IEMs, it's not. And I guess, I don't know, it just happens to be that these 4 IEMs all work really well with the shorter style ear tips. And I think I put shorter tips on more IEMs than I put longer tips. We'll just say that. Jada is saying, nice thing about the Edition XS cables and HiFiMan cables, they're easy to replace. Yeah, because they're just like standard 3.5 millimeter connectors. And yeah, so Odyssey, Dan Clark, and others use weird cables. You're out with their cables. If you want to find a good source of not too expensive cables to replace them, Heart Audio, I've been buying from them. So I've got a Heart Audio cable on my Odyssey MM500s. I've got a Heart Audio cable on my, what else? On my Sony MV1s. I feel like I've got a couple of them. Do I have one more? I can't remember what else I've put it on. But yeah, I like their cables, and you can get it with the Odyssey, or I think even the Dan Clark connectors and stuff like that. And again, priced pretty reasonably. Especially for the quality you get. Well-behaved cables, we'll just say that. Cesar Berta saying, I am searching for a semi-custom IEM to use as a monitor and one for sleeping. This has the perfect aesthetic for the stage and the perfect tuning to sleep. Yeah, honestly, again, like, consider the fact that it is a little bit bright. So if you are using this in a way like where you need to have a really highly accurate representation of the mix, you might want to actually go for something that is a little bit closer to neutral in that regard. But I can't think of anything that I would want to listen to as much in this price range, in this sort of fit. You know, the only thing I can think of would be like the Thea Audio Legacy 2 and 4. I think are both probably pretty good options for monitoring, because they have a very similar fit, very like a semi-custom, and they are not as relaxed in the treble. But the quality of the 41T, I think, is just a lot more satisfying overall than both of those. And by quality, I mean sound quality. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Eggman, squiggly lines can always give a small idea of what an IEM sounds like. I mean, I think they generally do a little bit better than a small idea. Like they give, I think you've got like listening impressions will give like one sort of like idea what sound is like. And then you've got sort of this measurement, and you combine those two and you can start to get a sense for what an IEM sounds like without actually hearing it for yourself. I would say, with like the right listening impressions and like, you know, well-controlled graph with like a nice database of other, you know, comparatives that you can understand it against, you can start to get, I don't know, 85, maybe 80, 85% of what something sounds like. Pledger saying my hopeful contender is the Oni. Can't wait for mine to be delivered. What's the Oni? Do I need to find out about the Oni? Shimon saying, I'm still hoping I can find the IEM equivalent of the HD600, something that just sounds good with any songs, and I can play it and never feel a need to upgrade. The closest would have been, you don't love the Blessing 2, but like the Blessing 2 is probably the closest for me. The treble was not quite there. The Blessing 3 treble is there, but unfortunately the tone balance is a little bit different, so I wouldn't necessarily compare the Blessing 3 to the HD600 in the same way. Yeah, I could see, I could understand wanting that particular IEM. And I don't know that I would have a great recommendation for it yet. The Supernova is kind of the closest though. But it's not quite as relaxed as the HD600 is. Scott saying, I understand Reddit has to make changes, but utterly crushing better apps with good communication and feedback from the community, and then doubling down. Oh, without good communication, yeah. And then doubling down and attacking other apps is unhelpful. Yeah, is the way that they've gone about doing it is actually, it's like kind of unbelievably bad in the sense that like I almost feel like I need to go to the original source and like consume the words directly from Reddit myself, right? It's like the way that I'm understanding that Reddit is dealing with this, it just sounds so unbelievably bad that I do wonder if, you know, maybe the people that are reporting it are a little bit, I don't know, they're juicing it up a little bit. Maybe it's exactly what's happening, and that's kind of my assumption right now, is that it is accurate, but it just feels, I don't know, especially for a company that's, you know, so community focused as Reddit, it's kind of mind-blowing, to be honest. Yeah. And I guess I'm just not interested enough to dig into the original material, the source material, as it were. Z-Rat asking, is it possible for you to set certain colors to certain IEMs, like blue on the 0 and red on the 0? Red, for example. What? Huh? I don't completely follow. YouTube jumped me again. Kylus asking for help on choosing a budget digital audio player. Main requirement is that it must have a mind-blowing sound quality in IEM. No Bluetooth or Wi-Fi needed. Only requirement is great sound quality under $200. Well, Kylus, if all you care about is sound for IEMs, this is all you need. You only need, there's no significant sound differences between DAPs. I hate to break it to you. That is my take. There might be like minor differences between DAPs, like differences that if I'm listening to them in an A/B scenario, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, I can kind of maybe hear that this one sounds a little bit extra sense of brightness, or has a little bit of extra sense of warmth to it. But in my opinion, those differences completely disappear when I'm not listening to them in a direct A/B comparison test. And in fact, even if I am doing like an A/B comparison and I'm like blind to which one I'm hearing, a lot of the times my confidence in being able to hear those differences completely goes away. So my take would be, if you only care about sound quality, don't spend a lot of money on a DAP. Just get, you know, you said you have 200 pounds, so you don't have like a ton of money for a DAP. Like get like a, maybe the Shanling M0 would be my recommendation. Nice little simple DAP. And if you're not satisfied with the sound quality, it's probably not the DAP's problem. It's probably your IEMs, or maybe even more, your music. Athena Vey, what's up? How's it going? Haven't seen you on a live for a while, and yes, it is still going on. Just came back from archery practice. Sounds fun. Where it started out well, but ended on breaking a pretty expensive arrow, so it feels good to catch a live stream. Wow, interesting. I I guess I've definitely not done enough archery to know much about archery, but I never thought about there being like more expensive arrows or cheaper arrows. I thought about more expensive bows. I remember as a kid, I think I had like a friend, like a neighborhood friend that had a bow and arrow, and I enjoyed going over to his house and using it, and I was interested in getting like my own compound bow. So like that's 30 plus years ago. That's, well, maybe 30 years ago. So that's like my reference for, that's about as much as I know about archery. I guess I also went shooting at Golden Gate Park, let's call it 5 years ago. But that was just like with some rental stuff. Yeah, what goes into like an expensive arrow? Do they make them out of like carbon fiber or something like that? And then what are the benefits of that? Ooh, Jadis, you sold your Blessing 3 and your Dusk because of the announcement, I assume, of the Blessing 3 Dusk. Yeah. Yeah, it was probably not the smartest business move to let that out of the bag. Athena Vey saying, anyway, after some time not listening to IEMs, all the ones I love sound like poop, then magically sounded good 2 days later. So I'm wondering if there's something I'd like even after a while. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, yeah, you just need to like reacclimate. Especially like, this is the thing I found when I was reviewing the Symphonia Meteor, which is a very thick, warm, laid back sound. And I was listening to like that IEM kind of nonstop for about a week. And I went from that IEM to all my other favorite IEMs to compare. I was like, okay, I should start comparing this. And they all sounded like incredibly thin and bright. And it was a weird experience for me. All these IEMs that were my favorites, IE600, the Blessing 2. Like, why does these things just sound wrong? And it was because my tonal balance perception, my frame of reference, was changed, and that happens the more you listen to something. And I think, people talk about burn-in with IEMs or headphones or any kind of gear. I think that is like responsible for 99% of what people identify as burn-in. Lakshay Sharma, how is it for gaming? I don't know. I don't game in IEMs. I'm not a big fan, and I describe the imaging as not being especially fantastic, so probably that would be what most people say or thinking of when they say, how is it for gaming? But sorry, I'm just, the question, how is this for gaming? I don't love the question. I feel like it's not precise enough about what you're looking for. Shimon saying, my reason for my heat of waifu boxes is simple. I never want to bring a girl to my place and have to, I'm guessing, explain it. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I throw out my boxes. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but... And yeah, Sundara saying, throw out the box or don't have it on display. Worst case is that you can make an excuse by saying waifu is just your favorite VTuber on Twitch. There you go. I don't know, what's worse? Having a waifu box art in your house or admitting that you watch VTubers? I'm just kidding, there's nothing wrong with VTubers. But I feel like there's probably a lot of overlap between being into waifus and being into VTubers. Like if you're not embarrassed about, or if you are embarrassed about having a waifu in your house, you're probably also a little embarrassed about watching VTubers. And if you're not embarrassed about it, you're about one, you're probably not embarrassed about the other. Yeah. And if you're not embarrassed about playing video games, wearing Nintendo shirts on a live stream, you might be me, and that's okay. If you are, I don't know where I'm going with this. Basically, I'm just saying, don't put creepy, pervy stuff on boxes, though. We don't need that. Oh, Scott Pleasure, Singularity Oni is the IEM you're talking about. I get it. Yeah, spend some time with it. Make sure, yeah, I'll definitely take you up on that, Scott. But by all means, please enjoy the fruits of your labor before that. Nick Greenwood, the Kiwi Ears Quintet looks interesting. Yeah, I think it looks interesting. Nikhil, I have not heard of the Focalisia. Generally not a big fan of closed back headphones in general, so I don't know that I would love it. Kryzu, which IEM would be a significant upgrade over the Titan S under 150 to 200 bucks? Sorry, this is just another word that I've got. I guess I'm getting PTSD with some of these questions. People asking for upgrades. The question for an upgrade is just not a sufficient question in a couple ways. One, I need to know what is it about the Titan S that you would like to be improved. Because there are a lot of aspects of the Titan S. There's the tonal balance, there is the bass presentation, there's the treble presentation, there is the imaging, whatever. There are all these different aspects of it. What is it specifically that you want improved? If you want that something, okay, here's the other aspect actually, I'm getting into it, is that there is rarely a scenario where you've got something that is exactly the Titan S, but just with all the stats boosted, and it's just a Titan S plus better. So this, or even just a Titan S plus one stat boosted or something like that. IEMs don't really work like this. And so this is why, like, I have kind of again, PTSD, a little bit of a pet peeve with the term upgrade, is that if you like the Titan S, I might be able to recommend you something that does a specific thing better, but it might have other aspects that are completely different, and you might not actually like it better than the Titan S. So upgrade is just the wrong mentality to be thinking about this stuff. It's like, this is what I like. I want something that's kind of in this range, but then like index is really high for this attribute. And if you say, I want something in this range that index is really high for all these attributes, it might not exist, or you probably also might need to consider upping your budget. Because me personally, I like all of these IEMs better than the Titan S, but you might not, right? Is this an upgrade to the Titan S? Well, again, I wouldn't use the word upgrade because it's a completely different beast. And the same kind of goes for these. This is maybe like the closest to the Titan S. I do like it better. The treble's a little bit better. The bass is better. But I don't know, it's different. It's not as bright as the Titan S. And if you like that brightness in the Titan S, you might miss it in the Kato. Crash saying anything with good imaging should be good for gaming, for FPS games at least. And that's why, again, like I feel like people need to be a little bit more specific with what they're looking for. And I don't think that people really know what they're asking a lot of the times is kind of where I'm coming down on it. And maybe, again, I'm just getting a little bit jaded with these questions. But when people ask me, is this good for gaming? I feel like they probably don't know what they're asking. They just heard other people on YouTube talking about IEMs for gaming. And maybe they know what they're talking about. I don't know, but like gaming is this broad category. What are you talking about? Like, what aspect? What are you trying to get out of it? And like you mentioned, Crash, I think a lot of people are talking about imaging, specifically like playing Counter-Strike or something like that, and being able to pick out exactly where around you are hearing footsteps. And if that's what you're looking for, please ask for that very specifically. And the answer is just going to be like, when I describe something as good imaging, that's imaging, okay? So find the IEMs that I describe as indexing good for imaging. if you're asking like my review, is this good for gaming? If you're looking for imaging, no, this is not a thing I would say indexes really high in that. But if that's not what you're talking about, if you're talking about, oh no, I want like just like this rich, enveloping, immersive experience because that's the kind of games I'm playing. I'm playing Uncharted or whatever. Well, you probably don't care about the imaging so much. You don't want an IEM that is just fully treble focused. You want something maybe a little more balanced, in which case, say that. Like, don't just ask gaming. Yeah, sorry. Sore spot. Brad T, I'm watching a VTuber right now. LMAO. Yeah, there's good VTube content out there, including Side Salad audio reviewer. Really good content. Happens to be in the VTube presentation. Don't hate on it. Scott Pledger saying IMO imaging for IEMs is a non-starter, but maybe that's just me. I mean, I definitely think, I think certain IEMs are better at imaging than others. I don't play games in IEMs personally. I mentioned I do play a lot of video games, but I don't play a lot. Not as much as I used to. But I don't just basically never play games with IEMs. If I'm playing games, usually I'll just listen to the speakers, or if I do need to personalize the audio, I will prefer open back headphones, usually. Especially if I'm playing a game where I have to talk with people, I do not want to do that with IEMs. Nazuna, is the Truth Ear Zero still worth it? I mean, I would say my review is that I did, I don't know, it wasn't even like 8 months ago. I would probably agree with all of the same stuff I said. So if that sounded like something you want, yeah, still true. Ike Jennings, archery is a great hobby or hunt. I had a bear blacktail compound bow hunting. We use Sport Shop that had an indoor target range for compound bow, improves your concentrate. Okay, yeah. We'll have to start a new live stream where I do compound bow practice in my backyard. It won't be very entertaining. I don't know, I have a small backyard. It won't be that good. But we can do it. Ed Beck, which ear tips would you recommend? Spring tips don't work for me. Look, sorry, this is just like the quality of questions that like, how am I going to help you if I tell you that I really like the spring tips because of A, B, and Z, and then you say they don't work for you? What should I use instead? I don't know. What do you, why don't they work for you? What's wrong with the stock tips? We'll just start there. Use the stock tips, and if you have a problem with them, like they don't, whatever. Be specific. I can't otherwise help you with this question. Nikhil, the SimGuy EA500, I did a short review for that one. That one is up now, if you want to check it out. I did like it. Yeah, it's good. I didn't love it, but it's good. Shimon, I couldn't stand the side salad guy even before. How could you have a beef with Jamie? Like, for real? What the hell's wrong with you, bro? Oh my God, Nazuna with these questions. These are low quality questions. Tanstream 0, Truth Ear 0, Soundnet 0. Should I get them all? Feels like collecting infinite. Bro, do whatever you want. All right, I'm getting jaded. Folks, I think I need to go do something else. So thank you all for tuning in for this live stream. Thank you for watching, and the chatter, even the questions that drive me nuts. I appreciate them. If you haven't already, on the way out, please do hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ding the YouTube bell, and join me on Discord. where we can carry on the conversation. You can ask all of the awful questions and I will probably ignore some of them, but mostly it's really good conversation. So join me there. I will catch you on the next super review. Have a good week. It's called the Juicy. Cheers.